Today we're going to talk about resentment and how you can figure out what it is, how it exists in your life, and how to rip it out of your life so that you can live a life of freedom instead of being a slave to hating people all the time. This sounds good. Let's get into it. My name is Andrew Love. Who? I said Andrew Love. And it's my job here at Whole Goals to help you figure out how to optimize your life so that you can reclaim your mind, reclaim your heart, reclaim your body and your soul so that you can be a free man, free husband, free father. And now in today's episode, it is really important to understand the power of resentment, okay? Essentially, it operates like a tick. Let me explain. You see, when I'm talking about a tick, I'm not talking about a nervous tick. I'm talking about the little bugs that burrow themselves under your skin. They stick their little heads in. And if you don't notice them, if you don't see them coming into your skin, then they burrow into your skin. And then they get under your skin. And if they're there for long enough, if they're not extracted early enough, then they will spread sickness all throughout your body and you can get what's called Lyme's disease. And just FYI, Lyme's disease really sucks. I know some people that have it. It's this thing that you have for the rest of your life. And the one lady that I knew really well that had it, basically every year, a couple times, she would just have fevers. Her whole body would hurt just kind of all over. It was just this amorphous disease that she couldn't get rid of for the rest of her life. Sounds pretty crappy, huh? And so resentment is very similar in that if you extract it early enough, it just kind of goes away and it doesn't ensue into further problems down the road. But if you let it get under your skin, it eventually spreads throughout your body, throughout your life, and it will impact you for many years to come. But let's just be really clear about what resentment is, okay? It is an emotional, spiritual poison that enters your life and starts to cloud your ability to see life for what it really is, especially when it comes to relationships. Andrew, what the hell are you talking about? What does that even mean? Can you just talk a little bit more clearly? Yeah, I know, that was like a flowery definition, but let's think about it this way. If you look at some person in your life that hurt you, let's say it was a schoolyard bully. In that moment, when they were bullying you, they were causing some sort of emotional trauma to you. And in that instant, you can let it go and let it just be something that happened, or you can harbor a grudge. You can think about it again and again, this time when you were bullied, and you can think about this person that was bullying you, and you can just want to punch them in the face, and you can grow this into a lifelong hatred towards this person. This is the essence of resentment. So basically, you're saying that resentment doesn't seek resolution. That's the exact point. Just like cancer. A cancer is when cells turn on the body and they start to eat the host that is carrying the cells. And resentment is very similar. It is eating you little by little. It's eating your hopes and your dreams because every time you feed it and it grows, you're becoming more negative, you're becoming more consumed, more obsessed with a hatred towards a person or a place or an instance in your life. You're gonna need to give me more examples. I don't know what you're talking about. Do you have any movie examples or something like that? Yeah, okay. A good example would be Gladiator. Remember Joaquin Phoenix? He thought that he was gonna inherit the kingdom from his father who was the king. He felt like that's how things should be because I'm your son, so you're gonna give me the kingdom. But in fact, he was a weak little weasel and the father gave the kingdom to Gladius Maximus or whatever his name was, the big muscled guy, and Joaquin Phoenix became so resentful that it consumed him. He became obsessed about the fact that he had been done wrong. He had been hurt. It was unjust, and so he wanted to rectify the damage done. So what he did was he actually let that resentment take over his actions. He killed Gladius Maximus or whatever his name is. He killed his family and he enslaved him, sent him to a life of misery because he felt that he deserved the kingdom. It was the resentment that took over his mind, took over his emotions, took over his entire body. Sufficient. But how does this impact you and your life? Well, if you come to think about it, you have resentment with certain people in your life. And although you think that it it is in a nice tidy little box where that resentment only impacts that one situation in that one area of your life with that one person, it's not the case. Resentment is poison that tarnishes your entire life little by little. And when you don't resolve certain resentments, it influences how you view the world at large. I honestly have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Well, if you want to get more specific, then let's talk about enemies for a second. This whole concept of having an enemy is conjured up, it's made up, it's created in your mind and in your heart. And at any moment, you can release that feeling of having an enemy, and I really recommend you do. It keeps you away from being free. But what if you were the victim? What are you supposed to unvictimize yourself? Hear me out. You see, even if something legitimately bad happened to you, the problem with being the victim is that you remain small and the enemy or the bad guy remains big, in which case you are not able to grow. You're stuck there and you don't really get to gain the power of that lesson. You see, we become better and better when we overcome difficulty, and you don't overcome things by being the victim. You only exacerbate the differences between the you that you want to be and the you that you are. Because this is now just another excuse that gives you power to not be the person. I'm not famous because this person fired me. I'm not rich because this person stole my money. You see how that is completely disempowering. But if you take that story and you use it to your advantage, then all of a sudden it becomes the reason you did great things. But you cannot do great things and be stuck in the role of the victim at the same time. All right? So what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? So in terms of resolving resentment, there's a direct way, which is much faster, and then there's the indirect way, which takes a lot more time and is not even really guaranteed. The direct way to resolve resentment is to recreate a story in your mind and in your heart based off of new interactions with that person or that situation. So if you had a bully growing up, then the best way to overcome your resentment towards that person is to talk to that person and to let them know what they did to you and to say, guess what? I'm completely over it. I've completely forgiven you, and let's move on. If that person has grown at all, then they will be moved in many cases to completely ask for your forgiveness. If they're still a piece of garbage who likes to go around hurting other people, if they're still stuck in misery themselves, then just know that they've lost their power over you when you give them forgiveness. And if they want to stay stuck in that state of resentment and anger and whatever is causing them to act that way, well, that's on them. And you can continue to pray for them. You can continue to wish them well. But it no longer is a part of your journey. But their pain is no longer your pain. You've completely washed your hands of it. You see, when you see somebody with new eyes, and you can also hear from their perspective, a lot of times you realize that you might have misinterpreted a situation, or you might have seen something that didn't even necessarily really happen. So a lot of times I've revisited old pains and I've tried to reach out to the people that were a part of that situation, and it turns out that I was completely off. It was just my strange, young, immature interpretation of a situation. It had nothing to do with reality. The indirect way of resolving resentment is to do it all within yourself, and that is to forgive people through prayer, through meditation, through a lot of work and digging, and just kind of releasing it. And although that's somewhat effective, you don't get the advantage of really having that in-person resolution, which is truly miraculous. There are many stories in the Bible and different texts. I've definitely read it in Buddhism as well. These instances where a lot of pain is resolved in an instant. And this is the power that we have at any point in time, is to completely melt away any negative feelings by having one really powerful positive feeling with that person. So if you're able to connect with the person that is associated with your resentment, it is really important that you prioritize resolution. Because if you can gain that resolution, all the resentment completely takes care of itself. It just evaporates so quickly. But if you don't have access to them, if you don't know where they are, if they've died or whatever, then what you can do is you can work to release this resentment in your mind by retelling yourself new stories. Maybe that person was just in pain. That person that hurt me, that acted in such a way. Maybe they didn't know any better. Maybe they just were immature. And then you start to feel new feelings of, I wish that person could have been happier and not had felt the need to give me their pain. But luckily they did, because it helped me to grow, and I'm so much stronger now because of it. You're turning this negative into a positive, and all of a sudden you're no longer the victim and you're the hero of your own story. I think it's time you start wrapping up. Yes, I hear you. So in conclusion, just know that resentment divides. It casts this giant wall between the person you want to be and the person that you're experiencing on a daily basis. It also divides you and that other person, and it says that I'm sad and this person's angry, but there's no resolution. It's this dichotomy that doesn't allow you to have wholeness and peace. If you really want to achieve lasting fulfillment in life, then you need wholeness. And wholeness is when your mind, heart, body, and soul are aligned. They're all thriving entities unto themselves, but then they're working together to form a superhero, like a Voltron of power in your life. And in order to do that, you have to write your own stories. You can't be the victim of circumstances. You have to be able to create meaning and value of it, all experiences. And if you can do that, when you can do that, when you learn how to do that, then all of a sudden you become the author of your own life. You become this unstoppable force of goodness in the world. So get rid of resentment as a priority. Find out who your enemies are, resolve that. Try to go directly to them and resolve it. If not, at least spend the time to unpack and rewrite history in your mind so that you're no longer the victim, so that this is a life lesson that propels you forward instead of acts as an excuse holding you back. I hope you like this video. See you in the next video.